Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's class of Microsoft Office Suite. Yesterday, we looked at Microsoft Word and we looked at the basic functionality of Microsoft Word. Today, we are going to look at Microsoft PowerPoint and see how to use Microsoft PowerPoint. Let me start by mentioning that Microsoft PowerPoint is basically used for presentation. So this is a tool that is used when you want to make a presentation. So let's look at how to use Microsoft PowerPoint. So you will notice that these apps are similar in the interfaces or in the way they look, just like we had in Word. Even Microsoft PowerPoint, when you open it, you find some pre-made templates that you can use if you wish to use them. But for the purpose of learning, just like yesterday, we'll start with a blank presentation. If you look at the interface of Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and the other Microsoft Office Suite packages we're going to look at in this course, you'll see that the layout is very similar. One has different variations from one to the other. For instance, we looked at the quick access bar yesterday, and you can see that even in Microsoft PowerPoint, we have a quick access bar here. We looked at the document, the page details in Microsoft Word, which is here, which you also have here. However, there are a few variations like this, so there's no ruler here to set the margins on the horizontal side and on the vertical side. But you can see that we still have tabs here, and we have ribbons here, just like we had in Microsoft Word. Just like in Microsoft Word, the ribbons, under every ribbon, there is a set of options. Like under Home, there's a set of options. Under Insert, there's a set of options. Under Design, and so on and so forth. So when you familiarize yourself, especially with Microsoft Word, the other apps become easier to use because you'll have familiarized yourself with the general interface of Microsoft Office Suite. So, like I mentioned earlier, Microsoft PowerPoint's purpose is to make presentations. So, suppose it's at your workplace or wherever you have to make a presentation. Microsoft PowerPoint is a tool to use because it facilitates presentations. So, let's look at a basic, actually for Microsoft PowerPoint, we shall learn it a practical way. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a short presentation together as we are learning how to make a presentation. So when you open Microsoft PowerPoint, you have the page document here, which just like we had in Microsoft Word. But as you can see, it's a bit different. We have a thumbnail here of the same page. So this small thumbnail here is a replica of the main page here. So when you go to a different slide, and let me make mention that unlike in Microsoft Word where we had page 1, page 2, page 3, in Microsoft PowerPoint we have slide 1, slide 2, slide 3. Like I mentioned, it's for presentation purposes. So when you're presenting, you put presentation on slides. So what we have here is our first slide. When you go to what would be called the second page in Microsoft Word, here in Microsoft PowerPoint, it will be slide 2. So, like I mentioned, on the left corner here, this is a thumbnail or a replica of our main page here. So, suppose I want to present on the preferred mode of transport, on my preferred mode of transport. So each and every one of us have got preferred mode of transport. Others prefer walking, others prefer moving by car, others by plane, others maybe by ship, others on a bike, and so on and so forth. Each and every one of us have got our preferred mode of transport in the order in which you prefer them. So suppose you're told to make a presentation on your preferred mode of transport. How would it be? So the first page by default in Microsoft PowerPoint is what is called the cover page. Remember, this is different from writing a document or a letter like we're doing in Microsoft Word. This is a presentation, and every presentation should have a title, the title of the presentation. So by default, the first slide of Microsoft PowerPoint is always the title slide. So as you can see here, it says click to add title. So I'll click here and I'll add and I'll insert what my title will be. So when I click here once, or when I left click here once, the cursor comes there where I can type, and I'll say my preferred mode of transport. That's my title. Then here I can add a subtitle to my main title. Maybe if you want to add your name as a presenter, or whatever subtitle you would have which should be on your cover page, you would add it here. So I'll just simply add a name. So by I shall say John Doe. Suppose my name is John Doe and I'm the one making this presentation. So we're looking at my preferred mode of transport, and this preferred mode of transport is the one which is preferred by John Doe. So there is our title, and when you click there, this is how our title page is going to look like. Now if we look at it like this, you see this looks very plain. It's just black and white, okay, mostly white with a bit of black, and it looks very plain. So you have a choice to either style your presentations to make your presentation look a bit more colorful and a bit more interesting. Remember, when you are making presentation, the key is to keep your audience engaged at all times so they can follow what you're presenting. And so the way your presentation looks like, the layout of your presentation, plays a huge role in how your presentation will generally come out overall. So if I make a presentation with just black and white, it don't look too good, and it looks too plain, and it may not really attract the attention of my viewers. So I'll style this to make it look more beautiful, so that I can also attract the audience that I'm presenting to. So to style this, you see we've already written the title there. We can change the styles by going on our design tab here, and we have a ribbon under designs. So here we have what we call themes, and we have variants. So I can change the theme of this page, or this slide rather. So here are some themes. If you look at it, it looks like there are just about 6-7 themes. However, when you click on the arrow here, you have a lot more themes, and you can go through each and every one of these themes until you find one which is appealing to you. Now Microsoft PowerPoint is so easy to use that you don't have to click and undo every time you don't like something. What you have to do is hover around one theme, and automatically to apply, or it will give you a preview of how the theme is going to look like. So if I hover around maybe this theme, as you can see on the main page, it has changed how the layout looks like, and I can hover around this theme, maybe this one, no, maybe this one. So you can hover around until you find a theme that will be most appealing to you. So for me, let's see which themes look good. This one, or maybe green, blue. Okay, this one looks good to me. So I'll choose this theme called the circuit, just simply by clicking on it, and automatically it will apply. It's as simple as that. And we have here my preferred mode of transport by John Doe. So now that I have my title, the next thing I want to do is now add the content. I want to list out my preferred mode of transport. So when I go back to home, what I need to do is add a second slide. There are two ways in which you can add a second slide. You can either go here under slides, here under new slides, you can click on the top part here. It will automatically add a slide for you like that, or you can click on the arrow here and choose what kind of slide you want to add. So when I click there, it said add, click to add title. So my title now, this is the title of this slide, not of the whole presentation. Remember, the first part was the title of the entire presentation. Now this is the title of this slide. So I'll say mode of transport, and under here I can now list my preferred mode of transport in the order in which I prefer them. So for me, maybe my first preference is by plane, my second preference maybe by road, then maybe we can say water, and finally by rail. So these are my preferred mode of transport. So by plane, by air, rather not by plane, let's make this by air like that. By air, we're talking about the plane, a jet, whichever mode of transport that moves in the air. By road, we're talking about cars, buses, or anything that moves on the road. By water, we're talking about the boats, the ships. By rail, we're talking about the trains, and so on and so forth. This is the order of my preferred mode of transport. Then now we can add another slide now to say road, for instance. If I'm going to use road, in which order do I prefer them. So maybe I'll say by car, then maybe by my motorbike, and finally maybe bicycle, like that. So this is the order of which I prefer my transport on the road. My first preference is a car, followed by a motorbike, followed by a cycle. And just by doing this, suppose I end the slide, my presentation here. It means I've ended preparing my presentation. So now when it comes to actually presenting this, remember I was preparing this because I want to present it somewhere. So when it comes to presenting, I won't present it in this view that we're seeing right now, where I click on each slide and move like that and so on and so forth. No, I'll go in my presentation view or my slideshow. And to go to slideshow, you go on the tab here which says slideshow. Then you can say start slideshow from the beginning. Or alternatively, you can use the shortcut at the bottom here which says slideshow. And then you see the whole page now changes and we can see the entire presentation on full screen. But just by a click of the button, once I click on the right, when I left click my mouse, it takes us to the next page of my presentation. And if I left click again, it takes us to the last page until it says end of slideshow. Alternatively, you can change the slides you want to present by using the up arrow or the down arrow for the next, the up arrow for the previous, or the right arrow and the left arrow to change the slides that you are actually viewing. So there's a variety of ways in which you can actually change. So I can start my presentation here. When I finish talking about my cover page, I talk about the mode of transport. When I finish, I start with road, and just by clicking of a button, the slides will change accordingly. Although now the technology has advanced, there's what they have which are called slide remotes, where all you do is press a button from the remote control and it changes the slide for you. But I won't get into those details. So basically, this is how you make a presentation in PowerPoint. Now, if you look at my presentation, it's just a whole bunch of words that I have put there. Now, even in PowerPoint, you can add pictures to beautify your presentation. Remember, I mentioned that for presentations, you need to attract the attention of your audience. So, too much words, people don't like reading. But when you put some pictures and put some life into it, it looks more attractive. So, suppose I want to add some pictures on this slide. I can go to Insert, and just like in Microsoft Word, I can insert a table, I can insert pictures. So, I'll insert pictures. So, for car, I'll start by inserting a picture of car. Then I'll go to my pictures. I have a Hilux here, and I'll click on it and I'll say Insert. And it has inserted a picture of a car, which I can reposition at any position I want it to be. So I'll have a car here. Then I also want to add a picture of a motorbike, which will be next to the car. Now, I don't have a picture of a motorbike in my laptop here. So I would have to go to the internet and download the picture of my laptop and then insert it, which would be a bit of a long process. But with PowerPoint, you can simplify it by going directly on the internet while in PowerPoint. So if you have an internet connection like I do, all you do is insert and you say online pictures. When you go on online pictures, it will bring you a Bing search, which is the default search, where you can search for any image on the internet while in Microsoft PowerPoint. You don't have to leave PowerPoint for you to search for pictures online. So I'll say motorcycle, and I'll say search, and it's going to search motorcycles on the internet. And I'll look for a motorcycle that I'll see to be attractive to me, and I like this motorcycle, this black motorcycle right here, and I can choose it and I can say insert. And now it's inserting, and there you go, it has inserted a motorcycle directly from the internet to my presentation, and I can resize this to take it to any size that I want. So it was too big, so I'll make it a bit small so that it can fit my presentation. There is a picture of a motorcycle, and I'm going to do the same for my bicycle. I don't have a picture of a bicycle as well. Bicycle, like that. Yeah, let's just get this white bicycle, looks good, and insert it. It's downloading the file, and we have our bicycle there. Oh, our bicycle looks good. And just like before, we can reposition this, we can change the size, and we can reduce the size, increase it. So now we have our bicycle, and there we have our bicycle. So now this looks a bit crowded. I can now arrange my my page in a manner that I want it to be. So for me, if let's say I want to arrange them not the way I listed them in bullet forms, I want each word to be under each image. I can remove this, and instead of typing from this main box that the theme came with, I can insert what is called a text box. So first I can arrange the pictures according to how I want them. Maybe I want the car first, then I have the motorcycle, then I have the maybe bicycle here, like this. And I want each word to be under the picture. So I can go and insert, and I can insert what's called a text box like that, and I can insert it here. Make it a little bit big. I can put this anywhere I want. I'll put it under the car, and in the text box I can write what I want this to be. So this is a car. I can insert another text box, insert it here. Okay, sorry, didn't insert. So it's a text box. Here's my text box. I'll say motor bike. I can drag this text box under motorbike, just right there. Don't worry about these things in the background, they'll disappear. And finally, I can insert my last text box and add my bike, like that, or bicycle. Ooh, spelling looks wrong, doesn't matter. Yeah, so something like that. So now you see, if I go and when I'm presenting and I'm in slide view, you see that these things in the background will not show. This is how the presentation is going to look like this. We have a road, we have a car, a motorbike, and a bicycle, and so on and so forth. So basically, this is how you use Microsoft PowerPoint, and this is how you make a presentation. The last thing I'm going to show you is transitions. Now remember, when I was presenting, when I say slideshow and I start, the slideshows are just changing every time I click, it's just changing and it's just coming like that, which could be a bit too plain. I can style my presentation further by adding what is called transitions. When I want the picture to come, how do I want this picture to come? So this is where the animations come in. So I can click on animations here, and if you see, these are different animations on how you want your pictures or your words or whatever aspect of your presentation to be animated. So when I click on the car, for instance, I want it to maybe to appear. There's a variety of animations here. You can play with them and see which one catches your eye. So maybe I want it to maybe fly in like that. The car picture of the car is going to fly in. For the motorbike, I don't want it to fly in. Maybe I want it to float like that. It's going to float in. Then for the bicycle, I want it to, what do we do for the bicycle? Maybe we zoom in like that, and we zoom in, and we have set our transitions for our presentation. So now when we are presenting, this is how it's going to look like. I go on slideshow, or if you want to use a shortcut on the keyboard, you can just press F. That's the shortcut, but I'll go to from beginning. So I'll start my presentation. When I go to the last page, as you can see, I just have my preferred mode of transport. I have my car, motorbike, and bicycle, but there are no pictures because I haven't brought them in because of the transition. So just like before, I click the button and the first picture will come in, click the button, second picture will come in, click the button, and the third picture will come in, just as I had set them to come. Even the words is similar. You can have transitions even for the words. You click on car, you go on animations. How do you want this to come in? You can say float. The word car is going to float in. Motorbike, let's go on 10. Bicycle, let's have a shape, yeah, like that. And then we see how this is going to come out when we are presenting. So when we go on it will be blank. When I click on the button, first I have the car, then I have the motorcycle, then they'll start popping up. So you can set the order in which you want them to appear. Right now, as you can see, there are numbers besides each animation, so they'll appear in the order in which they are numbered. So just like you saw, the car came first, then the motorbike, then this, but you can change them according to how you want them to be. So basically, this is how you make a PowerPoint presentation, and this is how you use Microsoft PowerPoint. So I encourage you to play around with these things, try and make a presentation, try and explore the variety of functions that we have. And last thing I'm going to mention is, even for the design, suppose halfway into my presentation, I don't like this design and I say, this design is too blue, I want a different design. You can still change the overall design without having to start all over. What I do is go back to design, and by hovering over the design, I can change the design like that by clicking, and it has changed the design for the entire document just by the click of a button. So basically, that is how Microsoft PowerPoint works, and that's just how you use Microsoft PowerPoint. And the last thing, when inserting a page, if you click the arrow here, you can choose which type of page you want to insert. So suppose I wanted to compare maybe the modes of transport, I can choose this page which has a comparison layout by default, or if I want to add a picture and a caption, or if I want to add content, whichever I click here is how it's going to be presented in my next slide. So I encourage you to just go through these things, try and explore, play with them, see how you can add them, and ask questions where I'm not clear and we can rectify it. We end here for today. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.